Okay, we're live. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Weekend Open Mic Show. This is the TFC Open Mic Season 3, Episode 29. We've titled this one then FM Adjustments, because there are several, and obviously it's the Kixeye Shake-Up, and that's mostly about the professionals on the background there that actually make the game, and the new avenue that Kixeye is taking, hopefully, to improve the game. But we'll discuss that as we get along. First and foremost, then, I'll just say hi to those that are have already logged in. Adam, good evening. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Oh, your mic's a little bit quiet there. I might have to do some adjustments. See if you can tweak it a little bit, mate, and I'll see if I can do the same thing. Earth, how are you, mate?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah,
good.
I've been worse.
Hello,
yeah, you're fine. Good, good, good. Terry, how are you, mate?
Good, if I could unmute my mic.
Yeah,
I was muted because I was taking a sip of alcohol. No, I'm great, man. Really great.
Excellent, excellent. And Super Mod Jeffson, how you, mate?
Hey.
How's things? All right. You're quite happy, I think, at the moment, aren't you, for FM wise?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good, good, good. And Brian's here. Hey, mate.
Hello. It is a good week.
It is. It's not a bad week, I have to say. Like I said, there's a couple of slots left over. Feel free to hop in, that sort of stuff. Even if you want to hop in, you don't have a mic, I don't mind hopping in, and you can type in the sidebar chat, and we can obviously bring those things up. Or for those that are watching live, welcome, and please feel free to put your questions in there or your ideas as we're going along. I know it takes a little bit while to catch up because that's just the lag you get from obviously the live show and then to the chat. But we'll pick up on a few things, and then you put in your comments as you see fit. Yeah, so Wayne's already joking to himself in the chat there. So Ford's in there moderating, and Wayne's as well. So Wayne's question mark, good week, he said. So yeah. Anyway, let's go straight into it, shall we? FM. Okay, so Robin put up the chart, and obviously we have the weekly update. We've got a couple of weeks of the 112, then it's going to go. This is the last week, I think it is, for the 117, and that's going to disappear the last month or so. And obviously the 120 and the 121 turned up. What are our thoughts? What do we think of the death of the 117? Do we think it's worthwhile getting rid of it?
About bloody time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it's good
riddance.
It was a troublesome target, wasn't it?
It was.
Am I the only one that sort of liked it?
I sort of liked it too. I finally got the damage under an hour, and they're getting rid of it. So,
Well, for me, because it was the highest point value target, I would just hit a few before I went to bed, and before work the next morning, I just hit a couple, and I wouldn't have to worry because I'd be gone all that time for all that repair, and I would get the FM done with a pretty short amount of seat time, and the repairs were pretty much irrelevant.
Hang on a minute. Well, let's go back a little bit. So you're talking about so you do a few and then you fix overnight and that sort of stuff, and then you crack on. It used to be a case you do 5 or 6 targets, you'd finish your FM, put that fleet to fix, and you go and do other stuff that same night. And we're not being able to do that for a while. You know, I mean, what happened to FM was your place to catch up, and you would do those chores and get them out of the way, and then you go and do some stuff that you wanted to do in BP. Do you not think that FM turned into like a mini marathon where you had to sort of plan it over a couple of days, or of late anyway? And then all of a sudden you really couldn't do anything else because you were fixing at least one fleet, you know. I don't know.
I think that's become the case, especially since they've added limited items. Not necessarily, well, the way the armors used to be priced, the old charged armors, because they were like 60,000 a each, then not so much. But now, when every week you have to get a 1.1 million ablative armor that's terrible and should never be used, before you get your chest, and then maybe other things, and God forbid there's like 2 resistors in the FM. When they put so many prizes in and keep repeating the prizes, that's when it becomes too much of a grind. If you could just do 3 to 4 runs, if you really were truly caught up, which is one of the things they advertised about this FM, was that once you got all the prizes, you were caught up. But now they're introducing limited prizes, and they keep refreshing those every week. So that's not the case anymore. Now it's become a grind. It's become the necessary and first grind. That part I don't like.
Yeah, no, I take that as well. I think because Brian, I mean, no offense to you, but you really just only play PvE stuff, don't you? You don't hit bases and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're in a kind of different position than a lot of us are. Whereas, you know, you can come on and you can plan your PvE during the week, and like your FM's probably your most kind of important part of your weekly sort of playing time. With us playing PvP, we can't really look at hitting targets like the 117 and just hitting until our fleet's nearly dead and then setting it to repair, because then that limits the other time that we've got to go out and hit bases and stuff like that. Because by the time you've done that, you go out and hit a couple of bases, you know, you've got a couple of fleets damaged. There's just no time to repair all of it, kind of thing.
And that was a real problem with the 117, wasn't it? The 117, unfortunately.
117.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, a lot of people went backwards and went to last year's fleet and last year's targets.
Yeah, and started doing the 89s because they could do it for instant repair, you know, or the 111s, for example, because they could do it for instant repair and they could still play their PvP game.
Isn't that a bit embarrassing, really, when you think about it? I mean, a target that came out, you know, a year ago, and there's a latest flagship, and obviously we were prepping for a flagship, but the dragons were out, and people were actually splitting them up and doing, you know, one ship in one target because they couldn't have they couldn't stand the pain of just hitting the said target for that ship and then taking all the damage they did.
It wasn't well balanced, you know. You were taking far too much damage for the amount of points that you're getting. You know, and a lot of people, me included, I was quite annoyed by the fact that I'd built dragons, and because I didn't have enough dock space, I got rid of my icebreakers because of it. I thought, well, you know, I've built the dragons, that's the latest and greatest fleet. I'm going to be happy in everything else. So
and they lock it out the 111 as well.
Yeah, so then I got locked out of the 111, which meant if I had to grind stuff, I had to grind 89s, and then it's just like, that's really annoyed me. But I think that with the new targets that have been introduced and the Greta flag, you know, all is kind of forgiven a bit as long as they stay the same.
And that's the point, isn't it? I wonder if they are going to stay this. If they are, you know, I think we're back in the position where we were maybe sort of like when the Punisher was the go-to ship, wasn't it? And we were like zipping around the targets. And you know, I don't think these targets are too big. The time to do them seems reasonable. You know, the damage is not horrendous as it stands at the moment. You know, most people that I know of the sort of end gamers have now got their flag built, armored, and have been using it. I've done a couple of tests this weekend myself, and they're returning acceptable damage, I think, whether you stack or whether you drag or whether you lead with it, sort of stuff, you know, enough to say that actually, you know what, you can do the FM, get the key items, and then put it to one side and then let it fix and then go and do something else. And by the time you've done that something else, I think your FM fleet should ideally be fixed before you can actually sack it for the night. And that's a great position to be in, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, I've done a bit of testing with it myself. I posted a video up, and you know, both the 120 and the 121 I can do for, you know, instant repair to my Infernos and about 10 to 13 minutes, maybe sort of like 8 or 9 minutes if I drive perfectly to my flagship. So you know, that's reasonable because I can hit one, send it into base to repair the flag, you know, instant repair all of the Infernos. And whilst I'm doing that, go and hit a base. So, you know, it's ideal for me, really. And for a lot of people in my alliance are pretty much the same. You know, they will go and hit one, go and do some other stuff, base hitting, whether it's going and getting titanium as well or something like that. You know, you can go and do something and come back and then hit the next one, which is, you know, it's always good.
And that's basically what used to happen about 2 years ago. You could do I think I can't remember what it was, the level of target now, but you know, you could do one target with the Punisher and you'd be going off doing something completely different. By the time you come back, it was fixed basically, and then you can go, right, well, I can do another target and then do a bit of concurrent activity sort of stuff. It was, you know, and so long as, I mean, look, they've said, and we're going to keep repeating this, I think, for the next few weeks, players first. Okay, if you merely mean players first, then this is perfect. Do not do anything. Do not up it on damage and that sort of stuff. It's just, it's in the sweet spot, isn't it?
Yeah, they need to learn from when they released the 117, and you know, everybody designed their fleet about around the first sort of like iteration of it that we got. and everybody, and then they bumped it up a little bit, which was still acceptable to a certain point, and then they just went all crazy on that shit and wasn't very good. But I think that they should learn from that, where people had to refit their fleets so many times and they were getting really frustrated with it. A lot of people ended up quitting over it and stuff like that. If we see targets now, they need to be the end product targets. We don't need to be seeing a dumbed down version and then increases to it, because we can't design a build. If you want a build to last us for 12 months or 6 months or even 3 months for that particular target, we need to see it full power straight away, so that we know exactly what we're doing and exactly where we're at
Exactly.
at the beginning.
100% agree. Yeah, we don't want ranging. And look at the raid that's just happened. We know for a fact, and they've admitted it many times over, that and I was even told, a certain video that I put up, which was to do about countermeasures, nothing to do about hitting the targets, I was asked to remove. Quite simply said, the damage now does not represent the damage then. Well, that's a true indication then that obviously damage increases as their metrics come in, and they're either happy or not happy with the return they're getting for per target. And we've known, and we've been told that a couple of times before. So, that slider effect that we spoke about on the live show on Tuesday when we did the review of the raid, we can't do that in the FM. You need to be able. It's such a niche.
It's the cornerstone of the game, really, and it's something that, all right, if you're not quite getting what you wanted to get on it, you're going to get it from a lot of people that aren't going to drive properly, are going to auto it, are going to bunch their ships up. You're going to get the damage off of those people. The people who've got the skill, got the build, and have made the effort to do the target for as little damage as possible. You've got to let that go, because it's the cornerstone stone of the game, and people are going to get pissed off if you just keep on shitting on them over it.
I mean, I'll pop to Terry in a second, but you're right. I think just doesn't matter whether you're a sole, and I've got a couple of my alliances. If you're a sole PvE player or mostly predominantly a PvP player in one of the big alliances that like doing that, the point is we all have the commonality of the FM. It's the one thing we all have to do, to get ahead in the game, because it's where the goodies are, and it's a routine thing that should be fixed every single week. And it doesn't matter which side of the coin of, you shouldn't be disadvantaged in any way, shape, or form. Whether you end up then doing the FM and going on to PvP, or doing the FM and going on to doing more TLCs and other things, just do the PvE stuff. For me, as you said, cornerstone of the game, and it should be the benchmark. Everything from that should then take its lead from how difficult the FM should be. That's the way I see it anyway. But anyway, Terry, your thoughts, mate?
Well, I kind of agree with Earth, but if everybody or enough of the people start having a really good build and start discovering what the good path is, the problem, and maybe the good thing and the problem, is that gets shared. And once a certain number of the community has that build, watches that video, and is doing the 120 and the 121 for less damage, then Kixeye inevitably changes the targets or ups the damage in the current targets, and we have to start all over again, either changing our build and I don't know that there's a solution for that because a lot of people share PvE stuff. I mean, the TFC page is kind of built on sharing all that stuff. But sometimes we're our own worst enemy, because we put those videos up. Kixeye has a one-stop shop to go look, and I mean their data points tell them as far as how much damage is being taken and how much people are coining and all that. But they can just look at the video and see the paths we're taking on. We need to put an extra mortar here or an extra cold snap there, and maybe that's my tinfoil hat speaking. But I think we end up shooting ourselves in the foot as the FM cycle goes along. You follow me?
Yeah, but the structure in a rock in a hard place. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
Right.
I do see that. I do see that. I think for this particular, very cleverly what they've done, they've stated the fact that obviously the way the damage is going to be delivered, that, charge armors won't work. So they've basically reset the bar. They've not only brought on a new target type, they already know the weapon capability. They already know the number of ships and the type of ships that can go in there. I mean, just look at the way this is being streamed, and they already know which actual 2 armors, and there are only 2 really, that are going to do you any good. One which was given to us, which is the the one that's got the explosive and the ballistic protection, but it's not a charge, but it's got a fixed amount of protection on it, and the one that just happened that came out as a semi sort of escalation armor for the mantis. And if you didn't use that, as that's already stated, so that's a really good armor as well. So there's very little armor at the top end, so your fleet can only get so good. So there's already a benchmark. All that's left is driving capability, and you're going to tell me they're going to penalize people for good driving? I'd rather, where's player first then? Because if you're a good player, whether you're a good builder or you're a good driver, then that person should be rewarded.
I mean, I posted that video up to help people out because all of the damage you get for those targets is all splash damage, right? And a lot of people still bunch their fleets and go at it. All you're going to do is, if you've got 5 ships instead of 1 ship all bunched together, you're just going to get 5 times the damage than if you just have 1 ship taking all of the damage and then the others coming in behind. So the idea of me posting that video was purely to show the tactic behind it as to how to reduce your damage purely by tactics. Doesn't really matter about the build because, like we've just mentioned, there's only 2 real builds that are going to work in any good anyway. So you're very limited on the build side of things. So it doesn't really matter too much. It's more about the tactic that you use in order to defeat the target.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, I mean, I did some testing today, and the drag behind and push the flagship forward. So I did it, with 2 normal dragons and the flagship, and I did it with 3 normal dragons and the flagship, and I did it with 4 normal dragons and the flagship. And believe it or not, every single target came back within 5 minutes. Damage for each of the targets, whether I had 2 ships, 3 ships, or 4 ships. And I was like, well, why is that? Well, you partly sort of said splash, so it damages all the ships. But obviously, the more ships you have in there, you get the damage. You get the obviously the protection multiplier, which is down in the limited sort of information down the bottom end. So which tells you then obviously every time you put a dragon in it, you get an extra buff on defenses. But it comes to a negativity of, because it's splash damage, that actually you're better off probably just taking 2 ships in and a flagship and holding the other 2 back. You can probably drive around, damage those 2 ships, and then go and fix them, and then bring the other 2 out, because the flagship takes hardly any damage whatsoever. And
yeah, agreed.
I'm eager towards that way myself, that actually you don't need to build straight off 4 ships. I think you can probably do these targets with 2 ships, because, as you've said, unless you're splitting them all up at a reasonable distance, everything in there, practically, apart from those missiles that you can't shoot down again, which are doing less damage than what the 117s were, everything else is splash damage related. So,
yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to mention as well is that in that video, that the only ship that's in that entire fleet that's got the new armors on it is the Greta itself, the flagship. So, if you use a similar tactic to that, you might be reducing some of the squeeze on your shipyard, possibly. Is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're leading the flagship and that's one that's sucking up all the damage, and you're outside the splash range, then you don't have to change your old armors. You can leave it as we did with charge on that sort of stuff for now. I mean, I wouldn't go attacking the target direct, but because
all I'm saying is it might relieve that initial squeeze that you've got on your shipyard at the minute, especially with the next raid coming up. Is going to be the onset into the skirmish raid cycle as well. Yeah. So it's just a case of, when you've got time, just refit a couple of armors or something like that. But as it stands at the minute, with using that kind of technique, you're reducing the amount of stuff that you're going to have to refit, like, right away, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was worried when they gave us 15 days worth of dragon tokens in that last raid, and the FM targets are coming out next week. I figured it'd be rough, and it was. I think for something Irv said a while ago, I think that for targets in general, the best fleet, the newest fleet with the best tech, all skulled out, should be the most efficient way to do it. RTA, when you combine the repair time and the time to do the target, the newest stuff should be the best. And from a lot of people it just wasn't. They were doing this target and that with last year's fleet because it was better and easier for them, and they'd get more points that way. And I don't think that should be the case, and I hope that's what they're trying to turn away from with these new targets. But I am still kind of thinking they'll just up the damage on these new targets because a not fully built flagship, not fully ranked flagship, and all this other sort of stuff, even though we know how to build a flagship with counters because that's what the bonuses it has, all that doing the newest target that's more points than the 117 this early, I really think that they're just going to triple the damage that I know like they do with the 117 once we figure it out. I think they're trying to monetize the FM too hard, and I think if they shift away their efforts from that and put it into making a better PvP experience, I think they're going to get more money from that by taking the loss and making it up elsewhere.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. I'm going to hit bait. I'm going to coin to hit bases. I'm not going to coin a bunch of reg chore fleets. I'm going to let them sit unless I absolutely need uranium and have no other source or whatever. If it's the FM, I'm just going to let them repair every night. But if I'm having fun, and this has been said on this show a lot, if I'm out hitting bases, I'll go in and prep, take a little damage, come out, coin map, repair that, go back in, finish the base, come out. My fleet's half dead. 3/4 dead. Some of the good bases, take it, coin it on the map, go hit another one, because that's fun. That's actually entertainment. The stuff like the FM and gathering all these. I mean, this has been said till this dead horse you can't even tell it's a horse anymore. But they're just chores. They're just a means to that end,
Yeah. Then, have you got anything you want to add? Anything from your alliance and that sort of stuff? Are they generally content? Is there anything you personally have noted?
The damage isn't too bad if you have a fleet completely finished. Regardless of driving, like I just tried to blitz it and it was still reasonable. I do like the fact that they've added the Infernal Dragon into the FM. They probably should have done that earlier, but and at lower points. But it is a welcomed prize there. They do seem to be learning. It might be slow, very, very slow. That unrecognizable horse, it mightn't be getting as beat as much, but it's still got a ways to go. Like the targets this time are at least balanced. If they don't touch them, it's fine.
Let's hope they don't. I agree. I think they are balanced for a change. This is where we were, like I said, with the Punisher fleet. The balance is about the same, I think. With a well-built Punisher fleet 2 years ago, this is about the same amount of damage you were getting. And it was no problem. We did it for months like that, and people managed to get on and do other things.
Just for the love of goodness, the guys have said in forums that they're listening to us. Listen to us now. Don't change the targets. Don't make them harder. Leave them. Just leave them. Don't touch them. And all will be sort of fine and dandy.
See, this is the thing as well, is that, if they do leave them like this, it is opening up that time to do more PvP. Mm-hmm. And like somebody on the panel's already said, people will coin PvP, they won't coin PvE stuff. So, by leaving the targets as they are now for the FM, you're opening up that extra time for people to do the stuff that's actually going to generate you more income.
Yeah.
So, keep it the same. It's better for us, and it's all around.
That,
yeah.
Just on that, just because you're opening up time does not mean we should necessarily have the 50 campaigns that we had a couple of weeks ago. Nobody
don't fill our time. We'll fill it ourselves. Yeah, we'll fill it ourselves.
We will fill it with PvP. Leave us be.
Yeah, agreed.
Good. Okay.
Also, can I just mention one more thing?
Yeah.
The Inferno Dragon, very good that it's been put into the FM. I really like that. 2 million point prize tag on it. Not so great.
Yeah. What is the point? Like, I'm glad it's there, but what is the point in putting in the Infernal Dragon at that price point, when to get to that price point, you either have to grind for days and do nothing else, or you have to have the dragon already.
Yeah.
What is the point? Cut it in
Just
half.
saying.
in
Just
the tier
saying.
below.
Just putting it out there. Should have been in tier 4.
I mean, okay. So FM, we're in a position where we are looking reasonably positive. The 117 going away is not going to cause, I don't think, a huge amount of hardship so long as these two targets stay the same. We know there's a midpoint sweet spot target coming up. You know, the 112 will disappear, and then that's going to be replaced as well. So something between the 111 and the 120s. There's going to be another probably 115, 117, something like that. You know, and there is a blitzer if you want to use a blitzer target and then obviously coin your FM, which I think you'd be nuts if you do it. But some people do that sort of stuff. Yeah, he no. In fact, he's been quite content with the 120. He's enjoying it at the moment. So, you know, and those that we had a little discussion actually about, and it was on the Rampage reports, the difference between we can sort of like spin slightly away from the FN and go down a couple of different avenues as well. One thing was mentioned there, and Laredo said it. You know, there's far more money spent at the moment on PVE than there is PvP. I think there's more than it's not just a simple answer to people prefer PvE, because I don't think that's the case, because you don't join this sort of game to do PvE. You just have to do PvE, and there's so much to do sometimes you've got no other choice but to coin it.
Yeah, their metrics are set off forced actions of PvE and willingness to do PvP. So our willingness is the only thing making us do PvP. When we've got too much PvE, we're not willing to do the PvP, and that's why they're seeing the metrics that they are saying. We're just being forced into PvE. It's not our choice. We just have to do it.
Yeah, and I think people, and I'm not doing disrespect to money, but I think because we've been down that avenue for the last probably 24, 36 months, I think a vast majority of the players have lost the skill set and a little bit nervous to go back into the PvP arena in an effort to be competitive. So they think, well, actually, I want to be competitive and get everything else up to speed as well. And they're quite happy in a PvP environment where actually it's them v and AI, in all honesty. And actually, if they make an arse themselves, they're only making an arse themselves against themselves. And they can just log off tonight and go, I'll have a go at that tomorrow. Whereas in the PvP arena, you make an arse yourself, the world knows about it.
Right.
You know, because you've opened yourself up then to public scrutiny in PvP.
Yeah, that's one aspect that I don't think we've still covered yet. They've said a lot of good things, but they've still failed to almost identify the issue that players don't know what's going on fully. The hidden mechanics in this game are just ridiculous, and to think an average player can understand fully when they're saying, I think it was a new guy said he was listening to the conversation of how deflections and all work in PvE, and he had to go get a drink. If the designers and leads of the game are having to get a drink just talking about it, they have all information there. We don't. We have to figure out ourselves, and it's mainly the top end players. No disrespect to anyone, but it's mainly the top end players who know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
The middle to low end players only think they know what they're doing. There is far more information there than they understand.
Okay, look, they acknowledge that. Okay, the hundreds of hours. I mean, God, I'm not even going to admit how many hours I do a week on this game. You know, in doing it in different ways and answering questions and that sort of stuff and playing the game. So, but it's more than my weekly job. I can promise you that, and it has been like that for since it started. You know, that's just I don't go to the pub, you know, I'm not a smoker and that sort of stuff. So it's a good pastime for me. And I stopped myself, you know, for 9 months, several years ago when PvP went all wonky, and I came back for a different reason. And that's, you know, like Liam said, come and join the TFC and let's do something different. And I did, and I've really enjoyed it ever since. So my own draw to the game is slightly different, and it's not necessary towards the PvP. So I'm not really probably up there now. What I do notice, though, the PvPers are a funny bunch, a little bit like the school playground. They all group together, and they feel protected in little alliances. So all the big players think they're in this alliance, and all the other big players think they're in this alliance, and they think they're better than the other ones. sometimes you get caught out there because there's a really good player out there who's not in an alliance, or he is in an alliance, but it's really, really small. But he's also very, very clever. So occasionally, not always, but occasionally, you know, we've got all our really good alliances and our really good players in those alliances, but they're not all good people and they're not all good players. Some of the small alliances have some phenomenal players in them, and they know their stuff. They just don't want to be in a big alliance. It's just the way it is. So I wouldn't actually say that the top 3 alliances, and in general there are about 3, have all the best players. They have some very good players. But not just have all the best players, because that's like saying that, you know, the 70-odd people in the Miss World competition are the best looking 70 people in the world. Don't think so. They're just the ones that got their faces on camera. And that's the way I look at it. You know, so there are plenty of good players out there. A lot of them necessarily don't want to be in a huge alliance and that sort of stuff and all the shit that comes with it, personally.
I'm glad Venom said what he did, though, because that kind of validates what I said on the on their survey. But the reason why I don't do a lot of PvP is because you got to be either an expert base hitter or an expert defender to really do well.
Yes.
And I'm neither.
Well, as I said, you're in the public eye, aren't you? Straight away, you turn away from PvE, where you're only hitting against an AI, and the only metric you're working against is your own capability, and you're trying to chip, do that different next time. It's 5 minutes off there. And apart from somebody watching the odd target, no one really cares what you're doing, to be honest. As soon as you go into that PvP environment, every damn dog that's got a tail wants to laugh at you if you make a mistake.
Well, and like Venom said too, there's all kinds of hidden mechanics and things that not everybody can wrap their head around.
It's hidden mechanics and mechanics which are wrong to the description that they're being given.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff as well is there are certain things that in PvP that you wouldn't think of using, like certain weapons in PvP that you wouldn't think of using because of such high deflections and stuff like that, that actually work a lot better than really high damage weapons and things, because of certain game mechanics. And a lot of people don't understand that as well, which is another thing that kind of puts a lot of people off, I think.
Well, and that's with PvE. Once you figure out, like they call it, the puzzle. Once you figure out the puzzle, unless they change it again, you're pretty good. But with PvP, you figure something out, and then they change it, and then they change it, and it's kind of hard to keep up sometimes.
Yeah, they change it, and they don't tell anyone they've changed it.
I like the fact that there's only, well, I like the fact, but I acknowledge the fact there's only 90% of the information publicly about PvP, and the 10% is the black magic that stays in the alliances. I like that. That's why, and I've said it many, many times before, and Liam will say the same thing, and so will Robin. We don't put hardly any, apart from vanilla builds, which we let, where we encourage Ren to do. We really don't do much on the PvP side on the TFC, because we want to get people to a position where they can take part in PvP. But you really can't tell someone. There was a post today. No, you can't, because you've got to look at the target you're going into, work out what he's got in his guard, work out what it could be on his turrets, and then build a ship to try and take down that base. If I give you a vanilla build for a PvP ship and it's shite, you're going to think I'm shite, but I've not even seen what you're going to go and try and hit. PvP is not just like PvE is. It doesn't work like that. The PvE target, that it's going to be the same every single time. The very second I build a ship to go into that person's base, by the time I finished it, he's already changed it. Or I succeed once and he'll change something else, and then all of a sudden that ship is rubbish.
But
that's what I was saying. Yeah.
But it's like, for instance, with me and TSM, a little bit of a thing last week where I went in and hit his base.
That was good fun. That was, yeah.
Yeah. So you changed a couple of things, and I just changed a couple of things as well, and but it's that constant being able to think on your feet and change things out. I've got 3 different fleets which I mix and match together in order to hit pretty much any base that's out there at the minute. And I've got different things, different spotter ships that I'll put in with my sloths, for instance, and stuff like that, for prepping certain things out. And there's a lot to it that you don't actually kind of. It's not just a case of I'm going to build a fleet of impact cruisers and they're going to crush everything. That's not the way it is with PvP. You've got to juggle things around and you've got to know exactly what you're doing, especially when you get into the higher end of things. You know, medium, sort of like mid-level player bases, fine. You know, most of the, like you said, vanilla builds will get into most of them. But when you get into the high-end stuff, you've got to have so many different things available in your arsenal to be able to do that.
But it's the same as anything else. It's like saying, you know, right, what gear do I need to get up this hill in my car? Well, if you've never seen the hill, how do you know? And that's the problem. You get asked questions. You go, right, you know, what do I need to do to be able to achieve this? I.e., what's a good build of this PvP ship? And it's just not possible. You can't do that. And Ren does a real good job of trying to give generic idea, give people the ideas and the incentives to go, that makes that difference and that makes that a bit stronger in that area. But until you know, it's a bit like saying there's somebody got a good base shape. Wonderful, great. But what guard is in it and what's on the targets and where are they placed, you know, and what specials have you got on and what dampeners have you got on? There's just too much into it. Which, and I'm sure, you know, there's three really good players here, brings me back to if we've gone away and the most of coiners, as it's been said there by Laredo in chat, if most of coining now is in PvE, how the hell do we get people back to doing PvP? You can't just go all of a sudden PvE is cheap, now go and do PvP, because people won't, because they'll make an arse of themselves.
Yeah, I don't think it's a case of that, you know. People will build themselves up. They will hit lower level bases and, you know, hone their skills and gradually get there. I think that the only reason that people are coining more on PvE is purely for the time constraints that they're put under. And, you know, and there's this classic thought of, well, I've got to do that TLC because otherwise I'm going to fall behind. And, you know, it's not the case. You don't have to do every single TLC. All right, if you can do it for a reasonable amount of damage, you know, who am I to say don't do it? But, you know, don't do every single TLC that comes out. You don't need to. You know, it's nice to have the tokens and stuff like that. But realistically now, I mean, if the Fangtooth campaign come out now and, you know, you've done it 4 times, what realistic benefit is that to you to go and get another, like, 15 days of Fangtooth tokens and another 15 days of Phantom tokens?
Yeah.
You know
I don't know. I think they've got a bit of a challenge. That's all, and they do want to speak to, you know, individuals and that stuff. But I'd like them all to speak to, and it's great they're going to speak to the alliances. I mean, they don't really need to speak to me about PvP because I've made a point. You know, I've had offers to join some of the big alliances, but I won't because I don't think I'm not in that bubble anymore. And I've said that many times. It's just not the bit that excites me anymore. You know, I like doing this side of the you know. Presenting and hosting pages and that sort of stuff and getting people to talk to each other. This is the bit I enjoy now, but I still play because you've got to, you know, and that's why, you know, it's good that me and Earth had that little bit of a to and fro the other day because it got my mind buzzing again. It was really, really good, you know, and I really enjoyed that because I used to be an avid PvP player, you know, 4 or 5 years ago. I was, you know, and I would flipping it 5-10 battles an hour, 4 or 5 hours a night, you know. I used to love it, but you know, for me, the game went a bit haywire, and then I sort of like I dropped out for a while. But so my personal goals are different now. But yeah, it's the how and how they're going to talk to people that allow that live that want to do PvP. Get that. How are you going to talk to the people that are not doing PvP, and how are you going to entice them to get into it? Now, I think Wrong Thinker, fantastic name, but I think Wrong Thinker has got a massive task on his hand. I don't know if he can do it even. I don't know how they're going to bring PvP back in.
I think that really you need to have better kind of, I mean, you've got the alliance bonuses. Why can't you have bonuses for people with certain medals or what, you know, be able to spend some medals or something?
Then let's make medals so you just can't stack them by just giving them to each other with secondary bases and that sort of stuff because it just does my idea. The medal system is busted. I know,
but what, you know, just for example, for an individual to be able to, with the medals that they've got, buy certain buffs for a week or whatever.
But we get it by alley points, really. I think that's I like the alley point system.
Like extra buffs for something. I don't know. You know, spend 50 medals, get fucking, I don't know, 10% off of a build time for a week or whatever.
Yeah,
or even you can buy tokens.
Yeah.
Tokens.
To be honest, the ally points thing is old and outdated too. So,
and
like
if
those
you're
bonuses.
if you're in a small alliance, for example, like I am, you know, you're not going to max out on everything all the way through.
yeah. I mean, I'm not penalising big alliances and that stuff, and I'm not glorifying small ones, but I do think it then should be pro rata. And I think, you know, or maybe it could be pro rata. I'm not saying it should be, because that's wrong, because it's not my decision, because I'm not making the decisions here, because it's PvP. And like I said, I've stepped away a little bit from that. You know, I still find it's interesting, but I don't do a great deal of it. You know, but if you're in an alliance that's only 40 against an alliance that's got 90, irrelevant of base level, because that's a moot point in itself. You know, a level 40 people are never going to outdo 90 people. You've only got to look at the golden nuggets when we do bounty, and you try and knock some people off of some of the, you know, the point generators to get yourself extra bounty when they're sitting there with mega ships, and you got 60 odd mega ships there and about, you know, 30 people around the clock defending them. A small alliance is never going to knock them off. It's just not possible. You know, it's impossible. In fact, it's in fact, I don't know any alliance that even bothers doing that, to be honest. There's only the big, maybe 4 alliances that actually even bother trying to lock them up. You know. Even if you're
an alliance that can max out on ally points for everything, the bonuses that they give are about like the rogue, a lot of the crew buffs. They're not really useful anymore.
No, it doesn't need to refresh, I must admit. But that's what I'm saying. And maybe it's not medals that do it, but maybe there's something. The point is, they've got to do something rather than just. And that's the sort of discussion I'm trying to get here. It's not just let's go talk to PvPers and let's do some fun and let's create a ship. You need to steer a community into a position where they're doing battle pirates, not chore pirates.
Yeah,
it's called battle pirates for a reason. It always was. You know. Okay, puddle pirates to start with, but you know, battle pirates is what kept us in here, and the bit of alley chat and a little bit of comms chat, which is great for banter. You know, you've got to try and steer people back into and encourage people into that arena where it's us against each other, not so much us against AI.
Yeah, just on the point you made, you had said that you drifted away from PvP, but the major problem is so have they. There was this point in time where you could see people from Kixeye themselves, you could see Will Harbin even actually playing in the game, engaging with the game, and hitting bases and defending themselves. Mm-hmm. And a major problem is the people who are designing the game just
they don't play enough.
They don't do it enough. And realistically, for them to fully understand what's going on, they need to make themselves an alliance. Take, say, 50 of the alliances, go through how much they spend, and sort of map out themselves sort of an average of it. So they have, say, a couple of whales, and a couple of average players and a couple of low players, and have at it, see what the game really is like, because at the moment they really just don't know. And they can take all the feedback they want, but the feedback's never going to fully show what the gameplay is actually like unless they go out and do it themselves.
I think as well, you know, I don't think it's just like that really. Just play the game and do everything that we're expected to do, but rather than looking at it from a point of view where you've got unlimited coins and you can instantly rebuild something, instantly do that. Just do everything so that you're building everything. Get yourself to a point where you've got, you know, the last set of tech, right, and then start playing with all of the new targets and stuff like that, and see how long it actually takes you to get to a point where you can actually start getting into the high end of PvE, and see how badly there is that juggle between PvE and PvP, and see why a lot of people can't progress into the PvP side of things because of the PvE. Especially like if you limited yourself to, like, I don't know, 200 coins a week, I think would be fair to limit it to for them to actually play the game and actually see kind of what's going on, and with limited playtime as well. So, you know, because obviously they're not going to play 24/7, but average it out so that you're doing between the team, for example, you know, 3 or 4 hours a day.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, like I said, I'm going back a few years now, but for me, the bit I liked when I was, my alliance was like 90 players, just when the alliances came out and that sort of stuff. And I used to get people to go, right, you're a prepper. That's your sole job. Don't build anything else, but you build prep fleets. Your job is to go and harass. So if anybody comes in and try and block a base, you just take them out, you know, and then your job's this. And I used to have set groups of people doing set things, set tasks. And then basically we used to go in, you know, and somebody would be the actual hitter at the end. And it was great fun, and then, you know, team chat was going on, and they were going, right, there's a guy coming from the left, and you block him and that sort of stuff. And right, oh look, they've guarded the base. Do this. I mean, we know for a period of time that you couldn't guard and that sort of stuff, you know. But it was a real, and I know some of the alliances still do it. They use team chat and that sort of stuff, you know. But that takes a while, and it, you know, that takes a year to get to that sort of standard. I think probably from maybe a bit longer, to understand that you haven't all got to go and build perfect bases. You know, because there's no point. Or has the game gone that way that maybe you do all have to win? You know, the whole idea to say that in a full alliance that you've all got to have 600 odd medals, you know, where it is now, that's not the way it works.
No.
Because at the end of the day, you just want your top players who are actually the finishers of the base hit to be the medal counters or the ticket winners or whatever you want to call it, you know, win the freaking golden banana. I don't care what it is. But the point is, the rest of them, that person would never have achieved what he got to unless the rest of the alliance was there with him. And that's what I used to love about PvP. And it sort of tended to drift away about 4 years ago. And it's never seemed to go back.
I personally think that, you know, that prep, especially in this day and age, is actually it's more of the finesse than anything else. It's the hardest thing to do now is to prep bases properly. You know, it's very niche builds. It's very, you know, especially in the top end of the game. And a lot of people can build a baser that can flatten a base, but it's getting that guard fleet out, for example, that's going to kill that baser. That's where the skill comes in, I think, more than anything. And that's, you know, people do predominantly want to go and smash the bases. To me, it's more fun me picking apart a base and prepping it out.
That's what I used to like. That was a bit nice. I mean, I wasn't the base hitter. I was the prepper. I thought I was one of the prepping team. You know, and I used to love it. I used to pick apart a base and go, right, got to get rid of that turret over there. How am I going to get to that turret? You know, and by the time you've sorted out your base prepping fleet, you know, I used to go and corner ship a night just to go and do that one turret, just so we could just say, we beat you guys, you know. And that really drew us into the game, you know, and it didn't cost a huge. I mean, I had looked back over the stats, I must admit, when they said they were going to try and bring PvP back, and I looked about the cost of dreadnoughts, and I looked at the cost of, you know, yellow hammers and that sort of stuff, and you know, MCXs, bless them, you know, and then it's some really interesting stuff. And actually, the costs and timelines aren't that different, to be honest. It hasn't changed a great deal. Just the number and the variety has changed. That's what has changed.
It's not only that though, TSM. I think, you know, back in that time, we were building fleets, and, you know, you were building your dreadnoughts, you were building your MCXs, whatever you were building, but you were using those for the PvE aspects of the game as well. You weren't in these little boxes where you've got to have this siege fleet to do this, and you've got to have this assault fleet to do that, and you've got to have this fucking garrison fleet to do the FM. You know, we were using our base hitting fleets to do all of those chores.
And there weren't as many of them either.
No, exactly.
No, I mean, you had an FM maybe, I mean, you know, until uranium came around, and that was it.
Hey, Nick, how you doing? I'm not sure he's got his mic on yet, but...
Hey, Snoopy.
Hello, bud.
Bye-bye.
I think another part of PvP they took away was when they took away the ability to intercept the fleet. Because I remember alliances used to sit around and somebody was getting hit, and they'd all wait around to try to catch the guy. And now it's almost impossible, especially with the map speed the way they got it now.
You should catch people at the relays. I used to love that. Watch them go through, and then literally count 2 seconds, and then just press, you know, target, and then all of a sudden they'd have already left the sector, and you can still tag them. I used to love doing that.
The long trip home.
Yeah. I used to be an arsehole for that. It used to be quite funny, but I used to be the prepper. I used to like it and that sort of stuff, you know. And then I got good at driving subs as well. So we've never been in the same alliance as Liam driving subs, but it never happened, which is just as well, I suppose.
You think introducing the medals kind of hurt PvP a little bit? I mean, because there are a lot of guys who just go around and hit bases to gather medals because that leaderboard
they share
means
medals
a lot to them.
Yeah, they pass medals around, don't they? I mean, let's be honest.
I've been watching, I've been on the Hammer Time page watching a lot of posts, guys talking about, posting the leaderboard for the medals. And I mean, to me, yeah, they're a nice indicator of how strong a base might be by how many medals I can win. But other than that, I have usually between 500 and 600 because I fail a lot. And I don't know, I mean, what you were saying about feeling bad, I never feel bad when I fail, because especially if I fail on somebody who, I respect as a player. I hit guys I know a lot, or somebody comes and beats my base and somebody I know, if some noob came along and beat me, I'd feel bad. Or if I lost in some level 75's base because I was doing something stupid, yeah, I'd feel bad. But if I hit Earth and failed, I ain't gonna feel bad. He'd get a PM saying nice base, bud, and I'd be going my way and hit someone else. So I'm not playing for the medals. We hit because UFUC's a small alliance. We got maybe 30 members. Somebody hits one of us, me and 4 or 5 of the guys go and hit them back. And that's why we hit. And most of them might not be worth any medals. We're just hitting them because they hit us,
It's the same with us, we're only a small alliance. We've only got 19 members. And, all right, last week we were having a bit of a to-do with SDS7 and various other alliances last week. But, we learned a lot out of it. They learned a lot out of it. That's what it's all about. PvP is about learning. Every hit you learn, and
you gotta do it to get good at it. That's the bottom line.
What gets me is that people cry about not being able to defend their base when they're offline because they can't drive. Don't drive when you get hit online. Learn from it. That's all I've got to say on the matter, really.
Yeah, yes and no. It depends what it is. If you're in the middle of bounty, and you've only got 4 hours to fix your fleet, fix your base.
Yeah, I drive
like a NASCAR driver as far as I'm concerned, because you just haven't got time. You've got to coin everything, and it just does my head in.
Yeah. I drive during bounty because if I have points they're trying to steal, but that would be the only time because you're offline 80% of the time unless you have no life at all. So simple math should tell you your base should be at its best when you're AFK.
Yeah.
So you just make your base that way. Then if you happen to be online when you get hit, sit back and see what your base does and see if you got to fix it. You don't know that if you panic and start driving your onslaughts all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and to be fair, it's like one of the guys that I hit today, he was online. I was prepping his fleet out with my prep sloths. And he actually ended up making it easier for me by driving because he bunched all his ships together and I took them all out in less than a minute. So, without bubbling him. So, it's all a case of, just sit there and just see what you can learn from each hit and, tweak things.
Good. Okay. My point is they've got a challenge. It's not just a case of going, well, we'll make PvE easier, so that'll give people more time to do PvP. And then they'll realize all of a sudden, and they'll think, well, people aren't interested in PvP because the money's not going up on that side of the game. It's not just a case of flip the switch and now all of a sudden there's more time to do it. You're going to have to guide people back into an area of the game which has definitely dissipated. And a lot of the big alliances have, they've bunched together because there used to be a lot more. And a lot of people have gone by the wayside because they've been disillusioned and have left, and we can all name many players that have gone. So for me, it's not just a case of bring the cost of PvE down, which I know it's their big revenue money maker at the moment, and clearly they're going to go, well, where's the money coming from? So we're going to invest in that. But the problem is making a TLC that you get 1 hour and you can't complete it unless you have to coin the fleet halfway through is not really the answer. Because that's what's happened recently as well. People just go, oh, I couldn't finish it, so I got to round 7 out of the 9 or 6 out of the 7 and that sort of stuff, and I had to coin the fleet. Well, it's not surprising you're making money on PvE because the golden nugget is at the end of that 7th round. And if it's a, 15 build tokens or 5 build tokens or a flagship, then of course they're going to go on PvP and coin it. But that's not necessarily what they want to do. It's what they have to do.
Is that stat just for repairs, Mark, or are they talking overall, like people coining ships and people?
Don't know, mate. I don't do I made a point of not going into things like the round table and that sort of stuff.
If it's repairs, they've kind of rigged the game there. I mean, look what sink your fleet of Manicores and then sink your Conqueror fleet you hit bases with, and look at the repair times. I mean, yeah, of course it costs me more to coin the Manicores. I mean, that's like 25 gold I got to drop. It's like 6 hours for my, MSCs and my, I got an Ifrit in with them. I think it's 6 hours if there's 12 coins. That's like half. I mean, they're kind of rigging the game. Oh, yeah, we make more money. Well, yeah, because if the fleet sunk, it costs more to coin it.
Yeah. I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that it's not going to be a flip of a switch. If they think, we're going to listen to players, and it's not quite that easy. It's not just be a case of, there's a lot of passionate PvP players out there, particularly in the large alliances, but they're already there. They get frustrated and they leave, but they're already there. How do you get the rest back into a position where they know how to PvP again and want to PvP again?
I think that we kind of already got that kind of thing in the game already. With bounty, with the opponent bases, they're all copies of actual bases. So you've got that kind of stepping stone there already.
But there's no 25%, is there?
Yeah, I know. But
so you can go in there and you can hit it 15 times, 20 times, that sort of stuff. You can chip away. You can do what you like. You can take non-PvP ships in, because I've messed around with some of them. You can get around a lot of stuff in those things. So and I get it. It gets people into hitting shit, base designs and looking at base designs, and I like that. That's really, really good. I'm not taking it away, but it isn't true PvP because it's still a mirror and it's given an AI front.
Yeah, it is, but it's kind of a stepping stone. If it's going in the right direction.
Training wheels.
Yeah.
Thing is with Bounty and the replica bases now, they put the guard fleets back in, and you don't get anything out of the base unless you kill everything, and some of those guard fleets are impossible to kill. And that makes people go, oh, screw it, I'm not going to do it.
Well, that's a catch-22, isn't it? Because actually it's easier to go in, which is what they wanted to do, it's easier to go and hit a real base than it is to hit one of those. And the idea was you're supposed to get more benefit from hitting a real base because you had a little extra, which obviously got manipulated.
But those are the actual guard fleets from actual bases. So
yeah. But if you
can kill the guard, come in with the orders on your sloths, etc., and kill the guard.
But Terry, let's flip it around. If you want to spend 2 or 3 hits, because to hit a good quality base, you're not going to do it in one hit. You need to prep it. You need to do that sort of stuff. So if they put those guard fleets back in, are you really going to spend 2 or 3 5-minute segments and go and hit that level 110, 120, 130, technically sort of mirrored base? Or are you going to go, sod that, I'm going to go hit an 89 3 times and get more points?
Which sounds like my Monday. I hit bases for fun to hit bases for fun, or if they hit us. But on Monday, I'm hitting 5 89s in a row to get my ally points. I'm not going to take damage on my fleet to do what I consider as another chore. But we all do that.
Do you know what I do on a Monday? I take out my 5 icebreakers, and I send them into alliance bases that don't have any res generators outside them, because I know they're already dead and they're offline, and there's a dock in there.
Right.
And I don't even look at it, and it's done in 5 minutes. And I just send them off in 5 different directions, and that's it. Ally points is done, because I think ally points are almost pointless. As you said,
but we still do it because we expect everybody to get their ally points, at least to do that.
Yeah, because it shows they're active. That's a good thing about it, But yeah, but I mean, even now that docks are fixing, you haven't actually. So there's no real enticement on Monday. You don't want to go and take 2 or 3 dead your PvP fleets just to get your ally points done, because to you actually it's really a chore, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, that's why I hit down on Mondays, and I'll even leave some PMs. Sorry, just getting ally points. Now, if I see a base that I want to hit that happens to be 90, 100, 110, I'll hit it. But my goal is to take the least amount of damage to get that chore done, so I can do all 5 of them without repairing, without even map repairing. I want to hit 5, get my 1,000, and be done. Because I want to hit bases that are good later in the week, and we need to get the ally points for the bonus. But I know it's not much of a bonus, but it's better than 0. And pre-raid, same thing. We want to get the bonus up, so get it done, and then you want to have fun.
Well, as I've used to say, and Ren said it many times before, it's not that you're 100% better than somebody else, you've only got to be 1% better. And if you're 1% better, you're going to win. It's as simple as that. When you're at the very top end of the game, that 1% is like, defense stats on your ships. You could have 98% or you can have 99%. And that's the difference between 500K and 3 million. It's literally that much of a difference. At 1% better, in defense or driving or whatever it is, it's just, you're a different category altogether than other people. So, yeah.
There's some luck involved too, and a little bit of skill, and
that's PvP, and that's why you can't go on there and say, "Can somebody give me a build for such and such?" Because I can't give you a build for such and such.
Right.
I don't know what you're going to be hitting, and I never offer a build for a PvP ship on the page, and I won't do it.
That's what makes it the fun part of the game. Just deciding how to make that build for these bases and having to change stuff, and how to the strategic part of putting together your conquer fleet so you can go in and hit bases and build it more defensively or to do more damage quicker. I mean, that's the fun part of the game. I don't understand even people that play this. I'm just a PvE player, and no offense to people out there who just that's all they do, but I don't get it. I mean, to me, everything is a means to an end, and that end is hitting bases. That is the game. And so when you're doing at the FM, or you're gathering uranium or titanium, or you're doing the raid or any TLC, to get your chore fleets better is to get the stuff you need to go smash somebody else's base. If you're not playing for that, then I have no idea why you're playing the game.
Yeah, and everybody just cast your eyes across something that the radio just said there in the live chat as well. That was something I tried to bring up on the Rampage report as well. It was mentioned a couple of months ago by GDR. We're going to try and fix the game before we bring you blood in. But the problem is that doesn't work either. If you don't bring fresh blood in, eventually, you've finished milking the cow and the cow's dry. If you haven't got a calf coming along, then that cow is going to die. And we've lost a lot of people. And if you don't then bring on that fresh blood, and forget other people's alt bases, because we know virtually everybody's got 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever it is. If you don't bring fresh starters in and nurture them and bring them on, when the bull elephant is gone, and the maternal mother's gone, that sort of stuff, you've got a lot of young people running around not having a freaking clue what's going on, because the seasoned player is definitely gone and has run out of steam.
They got to stop players like me beating up on those calves straight away. I mean, you got to let those. You can't let someone who's a level 120 or hit a level 50. That's just discouraging.
Yeah. So that's my transition next. So
what you were talking about show yesterday that we were watching about basing it on fleet levels, which is they need to do that ASAP. Yeah,
I was trying to say that yesterday. I think that's I don't know. So this is where I'm trying to send this next piece of the conversation. Do you think that we put everybody that's new from this point forward into a new world? Not that but the problem is they can't get access to a knowledge base, because half the real seasoned players aren't there in that real world. Or do we lock it down by or the start of the mechanic is about tiers, and it's about ship tiers, OP level, that sort of stuff, and try and link it and get away from base numbers, because base numbers can be manipulated in no time at all.
I watched the thing, and there was talk about the 5 up and 5 down rule. Base level means nothing now.
Pointless.
I've been hit and smashed by a level 80, and I'm a level 119, and I'm a level 119. Obviously, I can smash most level 80s. Occasionally there's one out there that isn't. Might have coined a lot, or might have various other things going on in the past, whatever. But it's something that needs to be done with regards to power level, and certain aspects need to be addressed with regards to that. So your fleet needs to be matched with the kind of turrets and the bases and stuff like that.
Yeah, it didn't
even
quite
down
work.
To, turret groups and stuff.
But the arena was designed around that sort of concept, wasn't it? It was about level of fleet and that sort of stuff in an FVF environment. I'm not saying it's perfect, because it wasn't, and then they tried selling it to be something it shouldn't have been, but at least it didn't have anything to do with base level. So the mechanic is there. Now, whether it's because you've got a level, you can't just say, right, if you've got all level tier 7 tech, then you can go and hit this base because he's got OP 10 and that sort of stuff. No, that's not going to work, because we already know, there are some ships out there, some really good ones that have got weapons on them. They've got nothing to do with PvP. They're actually PvE weapons. They're just working on minimum bypass, and the reload rate is massive. So they're winning battles massively. But that's the mechanics of having a really good alliance and understanding how to get around certain scenarios and certain problems. So it's not all about tier, but the start point, I think, should be something to do with tiers of equipment, and maybe we take away from OP 9, 10, 11, that sort of stuff, and actually bring the OP and the base itself into a tier system as well. So at least there's some sort of compatibility. I don't know.
The base is kind of already is in a tiered system, and to be perfectly honest, it shouldn't be that hard to make an average of all your base levels. For example, you can take all the turrets. If they're all level 9 with tier 7s, you can average them all out to a specific number. You can set warehouses at specific numbers, but that average will be from everything. And it has to be an average. So not just you have all this equals this total, because that can be manipulated by people taking like turrets, for example. Make it an average, and there shouldn't be much issue with it. And you
I was thinking, yes, add it all up and divide it by thing, and that gives you an average. Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, because that's the sort of way we do the bubble pad at the front, isn't it? You look at the front, doesn't matter how many turrets you've got in, that sort of stuff. You average it out by what's content in your base, and you can look it all up, and there's a couple of good programs to do that, and you can work out your 25% just by putting in the slider of what level your OP and what turret you got and what level your warehouse is. You can roughly manipulate to where the 25% sits. So yeah, I can see that's probably a reasonable way of doing it. And obviously, if it comes out at tier flipping, I don't know, 6.1 or 6.2, then maybe half a tier up ships can hit it and half a tier down can hit it. Problem is not always that the whole. And is it the unit average of the fleet that's hitting? So you've got like 2 or 3 tier 2 ships in it, and maybe 3 or 4 tiers, top tier 7 ships, and it gives it a 6.5 reading. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it can't be done on base level anyway. It's just not possible, because it's I've seen some amazing level 90 bases and some base hitters that are really good around the level 90s because they've had some expert tuition and that sort of stuff, and they walk all over some of the big bases, and quite rightly, because those big bases do nothing but PvE. And collecting res is the biggest way to rank up your base, So yeah, interesting. And you can, as you know, you can collect PvE res much faster. You can collect PvP res. But right, okay. 2 big announcements this week that we haven't covered yet. One of them is obviously the big spiel that came out on the forum. Okay, I'm looking at it now on the other screen, which obviously was put together by somebody, but obviously had Will Harbin's signature at the bottom of it. Do you think he wrote that? Do you think it's his words? Do you think he was just brought back out of retirement to say something? Or do you think that they had to get the big guns out? What do you think? And let's be honest. We've not heard of the man for 4 years, maybe 5.
Let's be perfectly fair. He doesn't
play BP. He doesn't know the game.
He
not be disrespectful, but
he doesn't play, and all he sees is the numbers. However, every time there has been an issue, he's been told, and he's kind of come down and said, there's a statement, and then wandered off again. That's the end of it. All he sees is the monetary value. Doesn't see how the game's progressing at all. I don't think he honestly cares, to be fair. And the last time I've actually seen him make a speech with his own voice to the community, he honestly looked like he couldn't give a damn about any of us.
Yeah, the rolling eyes and that sort of stuff. And that's some years ago, to be honest. That is some years ago.
He says it in interviews that he's a self-proclaimed sociopath and proud of it. So, yeah, he has 0, F's to give. He's just the CEO. That's why they trotted Wrong Thinker out and made a statement a couple of days after the one by Will Harbin, which basically said the same thing, except it was a little more begging, maybe. But it was saying the same thing. Yeah, we screwed up, and we know we screwed up, and now we're going to stop screwing up, and players first, yippee. And that's why most people were like, believe it when I see it. If you look at the comments under Harbin's, it was universal. Yeah, right. And then people were a little nicer to Wrong Thinker on that forum, on his forum post. I mean, a lot of them were optimistic. I wasn't, but a lot were. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yep. Like, at the end of the day, they can say whatever they want, But if they don't put anything in action, it's all worthless. And Wrong Thinker said it multiple times. He's going to be watching shows. He's going to be looking in the forums. He's going to be looking at the surveys, going through everything. It's nothing if you don't action it. And like we're on an open mic here. They could very well come on if they want to. We're not going to shout at them for coming on, but at least show us that you're there. There's a chat there. Say hello.
Do you know what I'd like? Do you know what I'd like? I would like them to say, right, we're having a open mic, our own. Okay, they're not going to publish it on YouTube and that sort of stuff, but we're going to bring up an open mic. We're going to have a hangout, and what I want to do, I want to get your top base hitter. You know, your alliance leaders, please send me a link from your top base hitter, your top this, your top that, and that sort of stuff. And I want 7 different guys. You know, and it could be Padre, it could be Reyna, you know, and it could be Agni, you know, it could be Ice that plays with the radios. Like there are various different people and that sort of stuff, you know, that are really, really good. But it also needs to talk to some of the other ones. You know, what is stopping you from doing PvP? And be honest. You know, they need those people in the room to say, look, you know, well, I can't do it because of X, and I don't know what the X is. Okay, I know what my X is. Okay, but I don't know what the general individuals is. I've got people in my alliance who will go anywhere near PvP. Okay, they're afraid to, genuinely afraid to. Grown men that are afraid to go into PvP. Okay, and I've seen that across many forums. Okay, where people are going, oh no, I don't do that sort of stuff because they don't like to dip the toe in the water and they don't like to be made publicly humiliated and that sort of stuff. You know, whereas some people just live for it. And we've seemed to have lost something in this game where it's gone into a protection bubble, really, where it's.
I think a lot of it as well is that, you know. Back when PvP started, we didn't have base cards, and you know now we've got base cards, and that's probably one of the most important aspects of base defense. And that's just it's extra repair. You know, if you took out that guard, you know, it instant repairs, but you know it's locked in there for a week or whatever, or something. I don't know, whatever mechanic you wanted to put in there. You know. Or if you wanted to take it out, it's going to cost you 10 coins if you want to take a ship out to change it or whatever, for example. Or you've got to wait X amount of time before you can take that ship out. But, you know, if you made it so that the guard repair was free, I think a lot of people would, because at the end of the day, that guard repair, you know, guard chips are not cheap to repair.
No, they've tried the half base fit, and it should be almost a quarter. But because that's the incremental steps of the way things have gone. You know, I mean, that slot which is half should almost, like I say, should almost be a quarter. And I think they really did goof up on bounty. I understand on bounty why they're saying, well, do you know what? You've only got 4 hours. It's got to be fixed. And that's stuff great. Yeah, I think we're supposed to have 8 hours kip at night, aren't we? So that means no matter what's going to happen, you know, someone's going to hit the base, not all of it on purpose. It's going to bubble up and that sort of stuff. Bits of it are going to be dead, and you know, because you're in a particularly different time zone from the other person is, that you can come back in 3 or 4 hours, and the rest of the base is there. You know, and you're going to walk it and take you know whatever's there for the taking, because people do forget to lock stuff away. You know, they have tried to help and give you free locks and that sort of stuff, but you know. It's not the perfect machine, and of course it won't be. Nothing's ever perfect, but you know there are interesting things that need to happen, I think, to steer the ship back into an even keel of PvP is required.
That would help. I think a lot of people are put off purely about the amount of repairs that they get from PvE, and then adding on top of that what they're going to actually get in repairs from PvP. And one way to alleviate that would be to instant repair your guard. Even if once your base is hit, stuff starts to repair instantly, and your guard fleet starts to repair instantly.
Yeah, do you know what I'd like? I mean, just for bounty, if they've won and killed your OP, your guard fix is free, instant. If they didn't kill your OP and you still got, you know, 20, 26, 28%, then it's within the 4 hours. But if because you if you're fixing your guard fleet, you're not going to go out and start hitting somebody else, are you? Because you're fixing your guard fleet. Yes, you can
that's
do 2
going to do
streams.
preps, though. That's going to destroy preps. If I prep you and do 24% and hop out, and you can and part of my prep, you know, was damaging your guard a little bit or was sucking some of your drones out, and now I leave and you instant repair your guard because
no, but only if the OP is dead, mate.
say
Yeah, right. But that's going to count as a hit to the game. I go and do 24% and leave. I've left and lost. You even get a thing defeat. You know, a little pop up.
No. I mean, if your OP's down and your base is flat.
Yeah, if you've
Then
lost,
you get instant repair. Okay.
Yeah.
even if you reach 25% and
But don't get the OP. Don't get 50.
Yeah, as long as it's past the bubble point where the attacker can't back out, because let's be
Right.
realistic.
point of no return.
You could kill a full guard fleet, but run out of time before you get the 50.
Right.
In theory, so just put it in once the base is bubbled. Well, your fleet repairs.
Look, the point is, it's just another area that's, it's just another area that's.
It's an area that I think that puts a lot of people off. Is that guard repair? It's a long time. And when you've got so many other chores to do and stuff like that.
A lot of guys don't even run guards because of that. Why bother?
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
going to have old halls that are going to get put in there, so my MSCs are going to come in and two-shot them. There's no point in having a 10-hour repair for, because they're putting in, year-old, 2-year-old hulls as their guard fleet.
This is what I'm saying, though. It's detracting from the PvP game purely because of having that. If you had that mechanic in there where your guard fleet repairs instantly when you get flat or get to a bubble point, it repairs instantly. That's going to encourage more people to do it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so sorry, I did a bit of a tangent there. I went into bounty, which I probably shouldn't have done. My point is, so they roll out Will Harbin. Okay, somebody writes him a little post. I'd be surprised if he wrote it himself, but if he did, then fair enough. But he can only write what he's been informed on, because I'm sure he didn't decide all of a sudden that this is wrong and that's wrong, and the reasons it's wrong because we failed to interrupt the community. I don't think he'd know that unless he spoke to some people, and maybe that's us telling them, and he asked somebody to do some trawling of data. I don't really know. Quite rightly, I mean, it almost read that basically we aren't talking to them. Well, it's not the other way around. It's they're not listening to us. That's what it actually says. We're all trying to say something, and maybe it's woods for trees. You can't see the trees because the wood's so big, and sometimes it's like that. You just see a blanket of data, and it's because it's all words and you can't pick out keywords, that it just looks like a sea of mist, and you can't pick out the important parts out of it. I don't know. That's why I'm saying I think they need to have some focus groups over and above what we are doing here, and the other shows as well. FFA's one as well, and that sort of stuff, and just pick out some key individuals and just some little focus groups, and maybe the mods. Each of the mods gets a little focus group together, and then reports back through the mod channels and that sort of stuff. I'm sure Lorraine would love to do that, but I don't know what it is. But we definitely need something else as another conduit that's not necessarily via this medium. And this show and the other shows, that sort of stuff, the ones that have remained. And it's not necessarily, like I said before, earlier on, about the greatest alliances. It's also about teething out fresh blood, and also encouraging people to take that leap of faith into an area of the game which is hugely public. Surveys at one point, but surveys can only, you can write a plethora of words down, but it doesn't have any passion behind the words, or you have to be very skillful to put passion into words and make them understood at the other end. That's why emails are terrible. Emails are a nightmare. I always phone, if I'm at work, I always phone the person first and then follow up with an email, because interpretation at that end is not necessarily what I want it to deliver sometimes. So I think focus groups is something they should do. That's my gut feeling. But yeah, so Will Harbin went on 4 or 5 paragraphs, 6 paragraphs, or whoever wrote it. But the key thing there is we've made a mistake. We've gone wrong. We should have done this and we should have done that. Well, that is exactly what he said probably 6 years ago, or probably 4 years ago, in fact. And that was on the BV show, because I watched it myself. I was an avid player back then and massively into my PvP. And it just seems like it's the same script, but the words are in different order to me. I don't know.
Amen.
It's the same thing over and over again, and they don't seem to learn. It's always been a communication issue. They always say, "Oh, we haven't listened to you enough." Well, the definition of
the closing line, the closing line, he's put "Long live battle pirates." I can't imagine why he'd want to put that at the bottom line. How about "I'm sorry, guys"?
With the what?
Like,
well, and they had that 6-month report card thing too that they tried, and that was kind of the same thing.
Yeah, state of the games, and that sort of stuff, and the 6-month report cards. But things drop off. I mean, I've literally just been scanning it again since we've been chatting for this last 10 minutes on this piece, and it's a good piece of publicity, but we've heard it all before.
All I've got to say on the matter is long live Destro stock. Oh, wait a minute. It's not going to live very long. I don't know if you want to... I'm in screen share. I don't know if you just want to kind of post it up there.
Go on. Okay, so that is Will Harbin's base.
Yeah. 1111.
Yeah. You
That's
know by
great.
the base ID. That's what tells you, so... Anyway, while we're on that, so yeah, there's a letter up there. There's 14 pages of answers and that sort of stuff. Most of it is obviously negative because trust. Once you've lost trust, you've lost everything. You know.
This is the problem. This is the problem of the game now, basically.
See, that's me on a Monday. That's me on a Monday. That's me on a Monday with 5 icebreakers, and as soon as I see there's no res on the outside of the base, I just go and hit it because I know there's nothing in there.
I gotta mute my mic. This is unreal.
so this is what you think of his speech.
When the CEO doesn't play the game anymore,
long live Battle Pirates.
but long live Battle Pirates, because it's all right because he's got a repairing dock. It's fine.
Level 4 walls.
Yeah.
Hey, don't knock level 4 walls.
Hey, good job, Steve. That was a tough base, man.
Tough base, man. Real hard.
You're gonna get a good PM from that one, mate. Anyway, that's a slight. Okay, fine.
Oh, so that's what you meant, Mark, about people getting afraid to be getting laughed at and.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand what the hell you were talking about because I never have that problem when I film the base. I don't feel bad about it. But then my base doesn't look like that.
Oh dear! But there are plenty around that do. That's the shame, isn't it? There are plenty around that do.
Yeah, but level 50s, and that's fine for level 50.
No, I meant flat with just a dock in them.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, that's because of people leaving, right?
Anyway, so we'll move on from the Will Harbin bit. Okay, I did say we're gone a bit tonight, but I think it's valid to do so. And thanks, we've still got nearly 100 people still logged in live, and they have been ever since we started. So it proves the point that it's worth chatting about this. And the next bit, obviously, is I still can't get over the name. Wrong Thinker. Okay, I just beggars belief, but anyway. Yeah, okay. Looked passionate, okay, but then again,
it's real inspiring, isn't it?
He's paid. He's paid to be passionate because that's his now his role. You know, he's there to be the passionate developer and to charge forward with a great team and deliver things. I felt sorry, I think, a little bit for Robot on Rampage Reports because I think he was like, yeah, you're actually saying this. You know, I would prefer it on Rampage Reports to go, hello, this is me. This is what I intend to do. Let me a couple of weeks. I'm going to go and hide away now for a couple of weeks, and I'm going to go and be a sponge, and I'm going to absorb what I can. Because no disrespect to the man, but he came on, and I think he's already done himself a little bit of a disservice, or done us a little bit of disservice, because he pretended he knew what the game was, and he made himself look a little bit silly.
I think he also made Robot look a bit bad as well. You know, Robot's been in there doing developing. Pushing the game forward, and Wrong Thinkers come in. He hasn't been there terribly long, and he said, "Look, this is all wrong. This is all wrong." And one of the guys is the developer for parts of the game that he's saying is wrong.
And he sat next to him.
He sat next to you, just
Public chastising, just like PvP. No. I mean, I'm not saying it's not that he's not infused because he was infused, but he's paid to be infused, so that's what he was there for. There's no point coming into the room and saying we're going to do this thing with Rampage, and all of a sudden you're sitting there like a lemon. So fine, fantastic, but it would have been more credible, I think, if he'd just come in and go, "Hello, this is me. Okay, I've got a lot to live up to. We have let you down. My boss said so. Big Will said, wish it. Okay, so we need to do something about it." Give me a couple of weeks. I'll come back to you. And then let's just see where we can go with this, and let's see what we can do. Don't come on, and I'll be upfront. Don't come on promising the world, because you're going to make yourself look an absolute tool in 8 weeks' time when you've achieved nothing.
Don't they have anybody there that's like it could be a community manager that's also like a level 120 player who's played the game since Blackwater, who knows what's going on? Because that looked like a noob fest. That's like me sitting in comms and some level 40 telling me what's wrong with my missile cruisers. You know what I mean? I just felt like I was listening to a bunch of noobs.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they got to have somebody there who's played the game, who's been there the whole time, right? Somebody.
I don't know. What do you think, guys? Am I speaking out of turn, being a bit wrong? What are your thoughts? Do you think it was a justifiable, initial contact with the community, or do you think it was? I don't know.
Some of the things he said, yes, it needed said, but a lot of it he should have got more information on. He should have went through with the community on very intricate parts that he was speaking about, and not made himself look so uneducated in the game. There was parts of it which were just hysterical. For he just had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, noob.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's awkward. I don't know.
It feels to me like back when Rampage joined, he came from the distinguished place that I have long since forgotten. I think it was Wargaming, because they did World of Tanks. And read through, it's like, okay, this seems to check out. You look like you're excited to be here. You look like you're going to do something good. Good luck to you. But in the back of the mind, we're thinking, oh, that optimism and that spirit of wonder and that drive is going to get beaten out of you in short order. And I feel that's a bit of the same with Wrong Thinker. He's trying his best. He's doing what he can, and good luck to him. But you're right in the middle of the fire, man. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying trying his best, because he doesn't need to try his best yet, because there's no. You've not got to you've just got to hit the ground with a keen interest to do right. You've not got to run in and go, oh yeah, this is wrong with the game and that's wrong with the game. Okay, and as you've said already, Terry, so you're a level 129 plus, are you? And you've been playing for the last 6 years. He acknowledged the fact that he could play it all day long, every single day, and he still wouldn't amass. As we have said on this show many, many times before, I don't care. They've got 50 developers and 50 people playing there 24/7. We've got thousands and thousands and thousands of players that, inadvertently or not, help each other out when we come to a conclusion. And basically, everyone ends up going down the same avenue within reason, just through mass, participation. So they're not going to outthink, 6 people can't outwit 10,000 people. It's a bit like the old Chinese puzzles. Once you've got the answer, you've got the answer. And I used to like that in Battle Pirates, because, a target was best unpicked in a certain way. And that's a good thing about PvP. A base is best unpicked in a certain way, particularly when you can all view it and you'll record it and you look back to it afterwards. And I used to take lots of base pictures when I used to do lots of PvP and we put them up on our alley page and we talk about the base and we discuss how we rip one piece apart and another piece apart and that sort of stuff. That takes hours and hours and hours of skill. You can't just come in and all of a sudden be the lead developer and go, right, we're going to fix this because this guy sat right next to me is shit. Which is almost what it sounded like.
Yeah. He needs to sit down with some actual players with that glass of bourbon he had during the meetings looking at the PvP stuff. He needs to sit down with them, figure out and listen to the players just how they go about doing PvP, what they're looking for and stuff like that. So he has an understanding. I know the team has an understanding of hulls and understanding of the mechanics behind it, but they don't have the full information on how to process it and how to make it work in the real game.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It is. It's going to be interesting. The point is, I suppose, where do you want to get to? That's isn't that the first sort of question? Where do you want it to be? Do you want to have the same? Is it about a level of enjoyment? Is it about a level of attributes? Prizes and that sort of stuff that you can gain from doing things. Is it about participation figures? Is it about time taken? That I suppose is a question in itself. Where's the joy? What is it? Where's utopia? Is it just beating the base, or is it actually cracking a base as a collective alliance? Not everyone wants to be in an alliance, obviously. So they still got those people that aren't in an alliance still need to be able to go and crack some bases. Where is utopia? I don't know. It's to me, it used to be my alliance beating another alliance. That was the perfect moment for me. If we managed to crack the top base in another alliance, I was a happy man. And that was my goal. But I don't know what it is these days. I don't know if it's still the same. It might be.
It's about the same. Speaking from my experience, it's a lot of talking, communicating with others, working out where weaknesses are, how to specifically crack it bit by bit, and then going and doing it. And once you put your plan together, and once you've actually actioned the plan, it's incredibly satisfying. But that for me at least is where the utopia is.
Yeah, or as it just said in live chat from Samuel, is it the bit afterwards where you can talk smack and go, we beat you? I don't know. Is that it? I'm not really sure. But it takes a lot to get to that stage, isn't it? It's
yeah. I think you're right though about needing to know where you want to go, because right now it just seems that you're throwing whatever they can up against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, that's really well put, Jeff. Yeah, exactly that. That's basically where I'm trying to get. What is it that you want? You can't just randomly just chuck things at stuff, and hopefully that's the fix. So don't come in and go, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, because you don't actually know what you need to do, because you don't really know what the problem is, because yes, things aren't working, and there's definitely more revenue coming from PvE because people have shied away from PvP because it's too costly, and bounty is somewhere in the middle sort of thing. It's a semi PvE with a little bit of PvP chucked into it. I don't know. Anyway, right, okay. Anything I've missed this week? VXP, yeah, boring, wonderful, great targets. Nothing exciting there. I'm not going to talk about VXP because it's dull. I wish personally that ranking ships just didn't have to happen anymore. I think doing PvP, your ship just be able to bloody hit things and that's it. The whole ranking thing is just a nose to me. But
I think that they should have two targets. They should have whatever the current cycles thing is, like what we have out now for the assault. But because they gave us a garrison hull, and they have specifically called out this garrison hull to rank in their notes for this event, not necessarily that they should give us a garrison target, but we always need a siege target, because really, with the resistances so high to every other damage type except the one or two you're supposed to use, these things don't take explosive damage at all, hardly ever. And it's built on the damage you deal. Or you deal so little damage, it doesn't matter. So at that point, you are just killing off your ships. Why not give us the siege targets that were tuned for only taking damage and dying in terms of VXP payout? Because that's what it is. You're not going to hit these.
Oh, we've lost Brian.
Yeah, his point is exactly right.
Only for that raid cycle. So siege and assault for this case.
We got yeah. We lost you in the middle there, Brian, but we got most of that.
Oh, okay.
You definitely need targets specific to the hulls that we're having to rank. Ranking the new flagship, if you're not coining, is just ridiculous. It really is. Like I think with the armor and all on it, I think it took about 10 hits to get there, and that's what 8 coin per hit. That's not fun. That's
yeah,
really
but a lot of people were able to get the. I know this doesn't help VXP per se for the fleet you're trying to rank, but a lot of people were able to get the defender tokens because they had mantis done. Because the fleets are. The targets, the one at 5s anyway, are specifically tuned for mantis. So yeah, I got myself a few tokens at least. I had to suicide everything else, but the mantis could kill it pretty easy.
By all means, they can keep the defender tokens in. Don't need a defender ranking targets specifically, because you're going to have your defenders in your base anyway. Just let us have siege targets, garrison targets, stuff like that. So at least we don't have to spend 80 coin per ship with armor on them to be able to rank it. That's just no.
Yeah, awkward, mate, isn't it?
Multiple 105s might be a good idea, you know. They really spawn just like the remote raiders around the dubs, where they're different kinds of targets. Where you hit 105 and, oh, this is a siege one or this is a garrison one. You know what I mean? And have a variety that spawn. That might be a way to solve it a little bit.
Another way to solve it would be, instead of just having all targets, just have one target, say with a specific raid theme. So this one would be for the manticores, but within that target, the same way you have defender tokens, you could have dollar tokens for the other types of ships, and that way you could get a random token for, say, garrison, and you wouldn't have to send your garrison ships into suicide, but you get a token instead. That's much more effective.
Suiciding's been the way, like, it's been like for some time now. It's frustrating, but it's almost
a pointless exercise, isn't it? I mean, basically, we're just supposed to run a fleet in there, let it die, because a lot of times you just have an engine and one gun, because you're just building shells at this point. You know, a lot of fleets you're ranking because you don't want to have the armor on yet, and it's here. You know, hit it and die, hit it and die, hit it and die, coin it, rinse and repeat. Just frustrating.
It used to be that you had to have a little bit of skill, go around, hit the cargoes to get it. The VXP targets came out when they changed the amount of ranking that was needed. That's all well and good, but changing the way we had to rank, where it became, instead of being skill, it became suicide, it's not a good option. Nobody likes it. We like ranking our ships fast. We don't like having to either coin or only have something half ranked by the end of it.
I'd rather they just killed off the XP altogether and just don't have to rank your ships, personally, but that's just me. Right. Okay. Brian, did you say there's one more thing there? Sorry, mate.
No.
No, you're good. Okay. I don't know how we're doing for time. Look, we're an hour and a half, just over, in fact. And there was one more thing I want to discuss, and that was the new acceleration capabilities now, as in using your GPU as opposed to just using your CPU and your RAM. How do you think that's rolled out? You enjoying it?
I can.
No, it looks cool. I have all the check marks ticked. I did what they asked. My performance has not gotten better. It stayed about the same.
Okay. I mean, they haven't said it's guaranteed to work for everybody, I must admit. But just across the board and in chat, in the sidebar chat there, just give us a quick thumbs up, thumb down. Just how do you think the acceleration thing, it's been rolled out, it's in its first sort of, obviously, iteration. Are you generally content? Do you think we could do more? Terry, your thoughts, mate?
I love it. I have a have decent computer with a good GPU. It's a Dell Alienware gaming computer. It worked great for me. My lag is the little bit of lag I had on some targets is gone. I have, other than a few graphical errors because it's beta, like my rocket is a couple of millimeters off the launch pad instead of being sitting on the launch pad, and a few other things that are I'm just going to count as glitches. Overall, it's a plus. So the inside of the base looks nicer, nice sharp lines on the land where it meets the water and stuff like that. So yeah, lag gone and it looks prettier. So yeah,
rolling cruise is easier, isn't it?
Oh yeah, they just pop right at you, man. It's like boom.
Rolling cruise was the worst thing ever because it
if for nothing else, turn it on just to roll cruise and then turn it back off if it's giving you problems. Because the experience rolling cruise with this on is just it was surreal the first time I saw it, man. It's just like pop. There it is. That's awesome.
It's like you've gone from the fairground to Vegas, I thought. That's the difference. The transition was amazing.
Yep.
Can they please, for the love of goodness, change the sloth visuals from that awful yellow stain on the map? It's just awful.
Yeah, it needs funking up.
For hitting, you can barely see the morts in it.
Do you remember when they funked up the Stingrays. Not Stingrays, was it? It was the oh god, right back in the early days, and they funked up the ships. And then they had to go Seawolves.
Yeah,
people said, no, turn them back.
All the ships. Yeah, I remember that. It was like 2012, something like that. It was just after right after they got rid of Blackwater, they decided to make them look more like real boats instead of ships they stole from Star Wars and Star Trek and stuff like that. Yeah, and everybody revolted because they were ugly.
They were pig ugly, weren't they? They were
horrible. The Seawolves looked like somebody's yacht, man.
Where'd my gits go?
Yeah, that's the other thing. So there are a few things at the moment. Playback isn't really working too well all the time.
Venom showing the remote targeting on the Slaws, right?
I think what he's trying to do is that he hasn't got any gates again.
That's another little. Yeah, that's like the rocket, a little graphical thing.
The wall thing is what's doing my head in.
What, these?
Not being able to see whether we've got whether the walls are dead or not.
For a while, that was both on the normal version and the hardware Excel. They fixed the normal version, but the hardware accelerator they haven't. There was a post on that in the forums at some point where they were saying yes, it's on both. I checked, it was on both, but now it seems to be fixed just on the original side. The hardware Excel is still broken.
So you're saying to do basing, you got to turn it off?
In certain sort of bits, you have got to.
It's early days. I think, for a first draft, and we'll call it a draft, version beta, whatever you want to call it. I think it's a good start. I mean, and let's not condemn it before it's out properly, and they'll do it in stages. I get that, but for me on my machine, and I've got a 970 card in mine and an i7 processor, which I haven't touched for 4 years, so it's not a new machine. I've got plenty of RAM and that sort of stuff. I've got 16 gigs and 4 gigs on my graphics card, so I'm sort of like Mr. Middle of the Road, I think, on my PC. I haven't done anything to it since, like I said, for 4 years now, and I've noticed a difference. Definitely, rolling cruise is just actually transformed it, because I used to hate rolling cruise. You used to have to do 15 or 12, then refresh the game because it would just lag the thing to death. And now it doesn't seem to do that at all now if it turned on. They just roll right through. Like I said, you're in slot machines in Vegas. It's that quick.
Well, just to check it out, when I first turned mine on, I went into an 81 base parts target because those were horrible. Rubber banding and lag and not a thing. Fleet was perfectly stacked. It did it for no damage.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that's
on the 103s, all the pop-ups were already up. You could see where they were, which was really
bad.
cool.
Which is not a bad thing.
You still had to wait. Your Bucky still had to wait to shoot the stuff because there's like a timing thing in the 103s. But it would sit there, and you could see where they all were, and then all of a sudden
ships in the right place. You mean? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It was awesome. I mean, because that pop-up in those Scourge base part targets.
Are you taking advantage of a glitch?
I think it's. I don't know if the new hardware acceleration can handle the pop-up things, which is fine. I'm glad they can because that was one of the most lag-causing targets ever that Kixeye ever devised.
That Scourge series was nice as a theory, but in concept, in rollout, it was just like, oh my god, that caused so much lag, didn't it?
It's horrible. Hardware accelerated, it almost feels like instead of fixing the pop-up having lag, they just take out the pop-up completely.
Yeah, which we asked them to do a long time ago, didn't we? We asked them to actually say, stop the pop-ups, just leave them up. But anyway, not to worry. Last thing, literally, because we're sort of 1:45, and that's a 2-hour show, flipping heck. You can tell I'm on a holiday at the moment. So the BP app, we're on version 4.14. I saw an update come in today. Is that right? 4.14, something like that?
Yes.
I think it is. I'm not sure what the update was. I didn't notice any difference myself. Where is this BP app going? Okay, because I don't want us, as somebody said earlier on, Ren said it, in fact, I don't want BP turning to Mafia Wars, and I certainly don't want to lose BP off a live game and all of a sudden it's just on a phone app, because I'll stop playing straight away if that happens. Where are we going? So I just thought we'll have that one. Where are we going with this? Come on.
If they could leave it where you can rearrange your ships, fix them, and auto things, it's fine. If it gets the ability to be able to drive, then no, that completely takes out the point of even logging in normally.
I'm just concerned. That's all. I'm concerned where it's going. I like the fact it's supposed to be an aid to your game. So, you know, yeah, I can fix a ship and that stuff. But the fact that now we can take ships out of a fleet and that sort of stuff, you know, and now all of a sudden we can, yes, we can auto a target, and maybe it should cost you about 10% more for autoing as opposed to driving. So there's an incentive to get back on the game and those sort of things. But I don't want them to do too much on this app. Personally, I don't want it to replace the game or be as good as the game, because I don't think that's going to generate any community feel at all, and I don't think it's going to help PvP in the slightest. And I think it's the wrong way to go. Personally.
I'd like to see them keep PvP on the computer, and I don't care if they put PvE on the app. I hate PvE. That's not what I came to the game for.
Yeah, let them just do PvE on the app so that you can do it anywhere and get the chores done when you're out.
Yep.
And when you get back, you can actually do the battle part of Battle Pirates.
Yeah. Is anybody having trouble with it working at all? Because
I've had some issues with it. My biggest issue with it at the moment is the fact that if you try and buy gold, it's more expensive.
Massively.
You run
so.
Apple or Android?
Well,
Android for me.
Yeah, me too. And I was at the week right before the raid. I was at the shore in Ocean City, Maryland. So I was going to miss the first 2 days of the raid. So I thought it'd be a great chance to download it. I have a Galaxy S Note that runs Android. So I couldn't get it to work on my phone at all. I downloaded the app and had all kinds of problems with it. I ended up just bringing up my Puffin browser and doing what I needed to do. You know, my Mantis could auto A sets while I was at the shore, then I could, you know, hit S sets when I got back. But I just, you know, the Puffin thing isn't great. I got big fingers and, you know, phone's small in my hand. Anyway, so, but you can do, you know, you can repair your base. You can start a ship build. You can auto targets on the map, you know, do your daily stuff like that. It isn't great, but if you're away, but I couldn't get the app to work. I tried 2 different times to download and install it, and it was a fail both times. So I haven't been able to use it.
The thing I notice the most is the email address that your software on your phone has got to be the same as your Facebook email address. Yep. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yep.
That's the key thing where people make a mistake, and it's not their fault because it's not explained very well. But the phone, the main primary email address on the phone has to be the same as your Facebook email address, and you can't change them either.
We'll check that. I'm pretty sure it is, but we'll check.
You can change the one on your phone, but you can't change the one for Facebook to match your phone because it'll just go all over the place. So you can set up a secondary email address. That's what I do with mine. So I've got 2 email addresses on mine. I changed the primary one to the one that's my Facebook account's linked to, and then it worked. Before that, I couldn't get it to work at all.
But I did what I needed to do with the Puffin browser. So
yeah, but you're emulating the game, though, aren't you? And that's not really.
Yeah,
that's just playing the game on a different format. Isn't it?
I was also not into sitting there for 3 or 4 hours over the course of a day like I am when I'm at home, because I was at the shore. So all I want to do is hop on if I need to repair my base, if I need to, you know, auto a target, or maybe while we're sitting waiting for the waiter to bring our food, you know, I'm going to auto a target. The wife doesn't like that, but I was doing it. And you know, it's just I don't want to sit there and be able to do on my phone. Because when I'm home, I got a computer, and that's when I sit down and, you know, open a beer and play Battle Pirates. I don't want to do that away.
I mean, I don't want things like comms chat coming on there. I think that'd be terrible. I don't want that for a start, because then otherwise you're people walking around the town and that sort of stuff. Flipping, you know, this is supposed to be a sit-down, enjoyable community sort of based thing, and you know, and having a laugh and that sort of stuff. And I don't want it to then start doing PvP on the damn phone and that sort of stuff. I know you can use, and I've seen some really good. I mean, you know, I've seen a few videos where people use the Puffin app and they're babysitting. I'm in awe, I have to say. I mean, I can't. I've got big fat thumbs and fingers as well. There's no way I could do that. Not in a million years.
I've seen Ewok doing it.
Yeah,
I am just baffled by.
I've
tried it.
No, me too. I've even tried it on an iPad once. I installed it on an iPad and that sort of stuff, and I still couldn't get it to do it. The screen was much bigger, and I still couldn't do it. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I give up. But so the app for me, it's great. It's a companion to BP. God forbid it replaces BP, or even attempts to go close to replacing it, because that's the day I'll definitely log off and I won't come back. For me personally, anyway. Yeah. That's not what I play for.
It's not a mobile game. It's not a mobile game. It just isn't.
It better not be. Great they're developing software to and you know, the fact that they haven't, you know, gone anywhere near monetizing and adverts and that sort of stuff, because it's an aid to the game. It is not a game in itself.
If the bug stays with the the gold purchasing than it is, because the 1,250 gold is nearly 20% more on the app than
Expensive.
it is in the game. 20% more. So it's almost like they're making you pay for it on the app.
I know there is some work. There's some work in progress on that. I know that, because it's also about not just the fact that how it first comes up, it generates in a set value and then it changes the currency and that sort of stuff, and that's the issue at the moment, and it's definitely being worked on. And I didn't know what the date was. I can't remember what they said they were going to try and do it on the next. And that's why I saw the 4.14 come up today, and I thought that was it. But so I did a bluff purchase, and it's still the same situation, so I cancelled it. But yeah, so it wasn't that. So I don't know what the 1.4 from the previous 1.1 was. So the version number. So I don't know. I can't quite work out what they did today for the update. Anyway, right, okay, we're at 10 to the second hour. Flipping heck. 2 hours. Good God, I can't believe it's gone that long. Right, let's go across the panel and have just a few minutes on from each person as to anything else that they've got that's burning their fires at the moment. Vernon, will you go first, mate? Anything that you particularly want to bring up?
There are plenty of us that are willing to talk. If you want to talk to us, send us a message. We'll help where we can. We being the community have a wealth of knowledge which is far vast beyond what you have. Use us. You don't need to just continue to use surveys. Pick random people if you want. Have a chat with them and go from there.
Would it be nice if they could randomly just watch somebody log in the game and then all of a sudden they could randomly jump in, and then just go, "Oh, hi mate, see you wrong. Can we have a little chat?" And just jump into their chat room or something like that. Not necessarily their team chat. Maybe a little one could pop up and go, "You got 5 minutes. What are your thoughts on this?" Or just throw somebody, get on somebody's base and that sort of stuff. There's one of the developers and that sort of stuff, and just send, watch a little bit of someone playing that sort of stuff and go, why did you do that? What made that interesting for you? And then start a bit of interaction that way, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, different idea. But yeah, I agree with you, mate. It's not just, as I've said earlier on, it's not just these sort of shows. There are far more people. Just because you're not in Miss World doesn't mean you're not the best looking woman in the world. It's just that you weren't in the show, and that's the way it is. So there are, active players on our own page. On average, we get 5,000 different hits a week, roughly, and on a month we get 10,000 different logins to touch our page. So I don't see 10,000 people in the big alliances. So there's my point. There are plenty of people out there that have an interest, at least. Right. I'm not reading that out. What about you, mate?
Yeah, just really, you need to just speak to more people than your set group, and whether it's any of us that are on here or just make sure it's people that have played the game for a long time and not newer players. I think is kind of, but you need to have a balance of both. But I'm sure that a lot of the newer players have a good insight into the way that the older players have better insight into what the newer players are going through these days as well.
Yeah, and we can't hark back to the old days, because if we're going to bring new people in, they don't know what the old days was.
No, but we as players that have played for a long time, we're helping out the newer players and we see what problems they're having already. So we kind of got an insight into what their problems are in the first place anyway. So there's kind of a bit of a balance between both there.
Yeah, fair point. Terry, what about you, mate? Anything? Don't know. He's disappeared. He stepped off. Rum?
Just general thoughts like everybody else. They need to visit with us. We've all heard the stories that he said before. We just need to see some true follow through and not 6 months down the line.
Yeah, fair. Good point. Sorry, Terry, you're back, mate. Sorry. Anything to close off?
Yeah,
mate?
Sorry, I had to recycle some beer.
Nothing wrong with that.
Running the damn show so long, man. You can't buy beer; you can only rent it. No, I think they know who they can talk to. They know, they have all the stats to know who has lower ID numbers, who spends the most time in the seat logged into the game, and who spends the coin. They know that. They can tie it right to an account number. And they need to talk to a dozen of those folks because the Noob Fest I saw Friday, I mean, Robot's been here a while, but the other two guys, just talk to some people. There's a half dozen people that are on this show tonight they could talk to and get some good information. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah. Interesting. Jeff, what about you, mate?
Nah, it's pretty much all been covered, I guess. I don't have anything new.
Okay, Brian, we'll let you finish off, mate.
A blade of armor is crap. Don't use it mathematically. They need to put that in the retrofit lab and show us that there's in the retrofit lab, or adjust the stats. Those sorts of armors are significantly worse than the other ones that we need, just from a math standpoint. Stop giving us new crap that's worse than the old crap we have.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. It needs to be in the retro.
66% with 100 deflection of this, 100 deflection, which don't mean jack shit when you put it against something. Yeah, no.
With something that's got 82%.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, come on.
And there's a lower fit time.
It's pointless. It's not more stocking filling stuff that takes people down an area that they shouldn't be doing that. It's tricking people into getting things just because it's content, which adds to the PvE burden, which I detest. But there we go. All I'll say at the end is what I've said many times on the page before: make it fun, you'll make money. If it's boring, we're not doing it. If it's a chore, we're not doing it. It's as simple as that. Make it fun, and you'll make money. That's all it's got to be. Make it enjoyable. People will turn up. If it's boring, we won't. Right. After an epic 2-hour show, I'll say thanks everybody for joining in. Thanks for staying online. That's 100 people for 2 hours. Blimey, that's you're all mad. You're nuts. and it's midnight here. But I don't care. I'm going to stay for a bit longer because I can. Go back and look at my base, see if Earth's flattened it again. Thanks everybody. Thanks for the guys that came on to say hi and show your faces and your voices. And for those of you that stayed on in chat, thank you very much in the live sidebar there as well. Look forward to update on Tuesday, and it should be the prep information for Bounty 12. Is that right? Should be, if I remember rightly. We'll see what.
Yeah.
We'll see what comes. It may be Tuesday. Well, they may leave it a little bit. I'm intrigued. Enjoy the targets, these FM targets, and I don't mind. Post your times up. There's nothing to lose by posting your time up, okay? Because they do scam bots across YouTube, and they've got people looking at figures and that sort of stuff. It's not just about paving and taking advice from people that say don't put this armor on, don't put on charge armor on the lead ship, because obviously it's got a pointless effect anymore, because it single one volley and then your charge is all gone in a single shot. So but you can get away with leaving it on a couple of ships if you're lagging them behind and they're well out of the range. So little things like that. So watch some of the videos, that sort of stuff. Yes, Kixeye watch them as well. I understand that, but you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Can't say fairer than that. Right, and on that note, I'll say good night. Good night, all. Thanks very much.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, mate.